You know, there's a ghost, and it lives in your pocket. It's this weird, modern mystery that almost all of us have felt, but hardly anyone can actually explain. So, yeah, let's get into it.
Come on, you know the feeling, right? That sudden buzz, you feel it in your pocket. You are absolutely convinced you just got a text. So you grab your phone, look down, and nothing. The screen's totally blank. No calls, no messages. So what in the world was that?
Okay, so if you've ever felt that, you are definitely not alone. In fact, you're in the huge majority. Get this, one study, this one was on medical staff, found that a whopping 68% of people reported feeling that exact same phantom buzz. That's almost 7 out of every 10 people.
So this little feeling, it actually has a name. It's called phantom vibration syndrome. And yeah, the technical definition is a sensory hallucination where you feel your phone vibrating when it's not. Now, that name sounds a little intense, I know, but it really just opens up this fascinating window into how our brains are trying and maybe kind of scrambling to keep up with the tech we've got on us 24/7.
All right, so who is this phantom buzz haunting the most? To figure that out, we've got to put on our detective hats and build a little profile. Let's look at the evidence.
And our whole investigation here is really anchored by this one key piece of evidence. It's a survey that was published in the British Medical Journal. So back in 2010, some researchers talked to 176 medical staff members at a hospital in Massachusetts. And what they found, well, it really starts to blow this whole mystery wide open. Right away, a really clear pattern starts to pop up. Basically, the more junior your role and probably the more stressed you are, the higher the chances you're going to feel these phantom vibrations. I mean, look at this. It hit about half of the senior doctors, but then that number just skyrockets. 80% for residents and a crazy 90% for medical students. 90%?
And then there's another huge clue: where you keep your phone. So carrying it on your belt or in a side pocket, already a super high chance of feeling the buzz, right? We're talking around 70%. But get this, for the people who carried their phone in a breast pocket, 100%. Not 99, a full 100% of them felt phantom vibrations, every single one. That's wild.
And, you know, the last pieces of the puzzle pretty much confirm what you'd probably guess. The study found this really direct link. The more you carry your phone and the more you have it set to vibrate, the higher the chance your brain is going to get its wires crossed. Simple as that. More time equals more phantoms. Okay, so we've got the who, the where, and the when. Now it's time for the big reveal. The culprit here, it's not your phone, it's not some glitch in the system. No, the call is coming from inside your head. Yes, a scientists call this a tactile hallucination. And I know, that word hallucination sounds pretty serious. But really, all it means in this case is that your brain is feeling a touch that doesn't have a real external cause. It's basically a perception glitch, not a sign that something's wrong. So how does this actually happen in your brain? Well, some scientists call it a hypothesis-guided search. Sounds complex, but it's actually pretty simple. Here's the breakdown. 1. Your brain starts to anticipate something. You're expecting an important call, a text, whatever. 2. Because you're anticipating it, your brain goes on high alert and starts to actively search for that vibration. And 3, in that super focused state, it's really, really easy for your brain to misinterpret some totally random signal. We're talking your shirt rustling, a tiny muscle twitch, and think, aha, that's it. And the researchers in that study, they had the perfect analogy for this. They said it's a lot like new moms who are so tuned into their baby that they constantly think they hear them crying, even when the baby is fast asleep. See? Your brain isn't broken. It's just trying a little too hard to do its job. Okay, so we figured out that this is super common, and we basically know why it's happening. But here's the big question. So what? Does it actually matter? Is this phantom buzz a real problem we need to solve, or is it just one of those weird quirks of living in the 21st century? Well, the numbers on this are crystal clear. For the vast, vast majority of people, we're talking a full 93%, this feeling is either not a big deal at all or just, a tiny bit weird. Only a sliver of people, just 7%, actually found it truly bothersome. In fact, check this out. It's so harmless to most people that almost 4 out of 10 people who feel it don't even try to make it stop. Isn't that interesting? It's just become this totally normal, accepted part of having a phone.
But hey, what if you are in that 7% and you want it to stop? Well, the good news is the fixes are surprisingly easy, and they actually work. You don't need to do anything crazy. The number one strategy with a 75% success rate? Just turn off vibrate mode. Simple. Moving your phone to a different spot worked for over 60% of people, and even just using a different phone helped out half the time.
So let's kind of zoom out for a second. What does all of this mean? Beyond just a weird phantom buzz, what does this little phenomenon actually tell us about us and our relationship with our tech? When you really think about it, phantom vibration syndrome isn't a bug, it's a feature. It's a perfect, real-world example of how incredibly adaptable our brains are. Scientists call this neuroplasticity. We've literally trained our very old-school brains to be on high alert for this totally new digital signal. And yeah, sometimes they just get a little over-enthusiastic about it. And all of this leaves us with a really fascinating question to chew on. Think about it. We started with pagers, then phones in our pockets. Now we've got watches literally strapped to our skin, earbuds that live in our ears for hours at a time. So as our devices get closer and more integrated with our bodies, how are our brains going to keep adapting? And will we ever get better at telling the difference between a real signal and just that little ghost in the machine?